Welcome to the Intrazone Roadmap Pit Stop March 2023 edition. This is a bonus monthly show that answers that burning question in your mind. What's rolling out now for SharePoint and related technology in Microsoft 365? I'm Mark Cashman, Senior Product Manager at Microsoft, here to help set the ongoing record straight. For this month, I chat with two guests to drill into both plans for the Microsoft 365 conference, May 2nd through the 4th in Vegas, and the new approvals experience within Microsoft Lists. I first talked with Matt McKenzie, Director, Microsoft 365 Product Marketing, who is upping our game for how Microsoft represents and supports news, training, community, and more for the upcoming Microsoft 365 conference in Vegas. We cover everything about the executive keynotes, breakout sessions, booth plans in the expo hall, evening activities, and the value of connecting, sharing, listening, and a whole lot more. And a little later in the show, I talked with Sudha Narayanan, a senior product manager from the OneDrive and SharePoint Experiences team, who owns the Approvals in Lists feature and works closely with many cross-product integrations with the Power Platform team. Beyond the breadth of event and list deep dive conversations, we'll focus on everything that landed this month, a few related items, and the always fun teasers looking into next month. Okay, it is time to kick back and get informed about all the tech and more that rolled out in March 2023. First up, let's catch up with Matt about the Microsoft 365 conference that is just around the corner, about a month away from now. So you may have been hearing about this thing, the Microsoft 365 conference in Vegas, in person, in May. And to dive a little bit deeper into what to expect if you're interested, we hope you are. We hope you register and join us. We are now joined on the Intrazone with Matt McKenzie, who is from the Microsoft 365 Marketing Department team extraordinaire, and has also been deeply involved in what this conference is going to look like. Matt, welcome to the Intrazone.
Thank you for having me.
If I had to put you on the hot spot, how would you, in one phrase, define the Microsoft presence coming to the Microsoft 365 conference?
I mean, it's called the Microsoft 365 conference, and Microsoft is really bringing it. I think that the level of executive that we have this year is really exciting. We're going to have more people on the ground than we have before. And obviously, it's just a really exciting time to be talking about all of these things off the back of some of our Copilot and AI announcements and some of our other product innovations. So I think this year we're really going to raise the bar, I think, on what we've seen in the past. So it's an exciting year, and it's going to be an exciting event.
Yeah, there have been a lot of disclosures. The one you mentioned, the March 16th AI moment, Copilot, it seems like Copilot's going to be in every product. And we certainly know some things. We know more's coming. And today, if you catch the day that we're actually recording this segment, the Loop team announced the Loop app preview. And there's going to be that plus with some new news as well. And your mention of the executives that are supporting it, maybe we can start there. Do you mind just giving us the 101 of the 4 Microsoft keynotes?
Yeah, we have 4 really exciting keynotes. And like I said before, I think we've really raised the bar on the content that we're bringing this year. We're going to start with Jeff Teeper, who I think a lot of people know and are excited to hear speak. We're calling his keynote Jeff Teeper and Friends. There's going to be lots of exciting people on stage with Jeff throughout his keynote. Charles Lamanna is going to own the Power Platform content, and he's going to focus on low-code to pro-code developer content. We have Kirk Konigsbauer, who is really going to hone in on employee experience and talk about our Viva product stack. And we're going to end with Caruana Gatimu and Dan Home, who I think a lot of people from the community know. And they're really going to focus in on how we bring this to life and how we actually deliver and empower real world results. So really exciting 4 keynotes owned by Microsoft. And like I said, the level of speaker we have coming, I think, is probably the best yet.
Yeah, and it's a breadth of across the company, that you mentioned the name in basically how it represents who we're sending and what we're talking about. But it almost is even broader than Microsoft 365. Power Platform, I know there's going to be a lot of developer content. Certainly when we get down to the individual products, maybe we can talk about that next from the sessions catalog. from who's going, at least starting with, we've got a pretty good A game coming, both from news and representation, but also just if people are interested in asking questions or, meeting some folks that maybe they've been looking at from afar, just to see a little bit about how they drive their business, vision, keynote, that kind of approach. I know there's going to be a lot of that, both in the keynotes and also, for when they're on the floor at the booth and whatnot. But if we double clicked off of the keynotes, imagine each of those keynotes then has a lot of breakout sessions. I know we're not going to enumerate all, and I'll put a little tease that we're going to be putting together a kind of a pre-event guide of all of the Microsoft content, which is, I think, around 60, maybe 70 sessions total if you include the keynotes. What can I expect from a Microsoft-led breakout session? Aligned with, of course, there are going to be community and MVP sessions. From what you know and have seen, how would you quantify or qualify, what are breakout sessions people can expect?
We're going to have 6 content tracks that Microsoft really owns, which is exciting. We're going to double click into several of our product groups, including Teams, Viva, Power Platform, OneDrive, and SharePoint. And then what we've just announced this week actually is that we're going to deliver a full AI track. So that's 10 sessions that explores Copilot and what that means for your business, what that means for your career, and what that means for your sort of day-to-day job. So the content is really exciting, and we're complementing that also with a full Power Platform track as well. So, like I said, Charles is delivering that keynote, and we're going to have a full content track dedicated to some of the key points that he brings up through his keynote.
Yeah, so there's a lot to learn is from a training perspective, which is a big value of an event. There's also a lot of ears for feedback, for questions, both at the exec level and, of course, a lot of people coming from the product teams, group product managers, program managers, folks like you and me, product managers, to be there to answer the questions, to provide guidance alongside the community that is always great with best practices and real world adoption and use. And one of the places where I think a lot of that activity will be, which I think you and I today just got a glimpse of kind of the visual of what the Microsoft booth will look like. And it's maybe, a booth like any other, but I think it also represents everything we've just been talking about. It's a gathering place, for people to come and learn more about what we share and show. But any insights about the booth, just to, tease out what people can expect when they come visit us at the Expo Hall?
We are looking at, having moments where we take over the expo and we really dig into some of these sessions and provide all of the attendees an opportunity to speak with our experts. But we're also going to have moments where we have executives at the booth as well. So we're really kind of making this a place to be, a place to meet people, a place to have those conversations. There's obviously going to be a full demo station set up. So you can even bring sort of use cases and problems from your day to day and ask our experts for a demo or for their insights. So like I said, we're really trying to kind of make it a destination that people will visit throughout the 3 days. And you have to wait for the details. We're not going to share them until the actual conference in terms of who's going to be there and when. But we're really excited about some of the people we've lined up to spend time at that booth and meet with customers and the community and partners.
I love that idea of meet and greet, obviously listen and learn, a lot of engagement in terms of listening for feedback and ideas. And with the broad range of products that are represented, I think you, as an audience, at the show, can expect that, whatever it is that you want to come to learn about, especially if it's not something that is directly planned in a session, there will be a lot of the right people to be able to go and kind of pick their brain. If you're interested in going to the show, of course, the call to action is to register today. But beyond registering today, what's the thing that we can offer them as far as a discount code and a narrowing in of where and how to register for the event?
The event website is m365conf.com. So it's m365conf.com. And we do have some discount codes. So our customers can save $150. The discount code for that is MSCUST150. And our partners can save $250. So that's MS Partner 250 is that discount code.
So it's super easy to go to the site. I'll have everything in the show notes as far as the discount codes, the link. Certainly when you get to the site, it's very easy to see the registration button, read more, and then commit to it. We would love to see you there. Any last words for people thinking about going to the event or things to expect that we haven't covered? Last call from Matt.
I love the social part. I love meeting with people after the sessions. All the learning is obviously why we're there, but I just love meeting people. And so there's a couple things I would call out. The first is that we have an attendee networking party, and that's actually going to be poolside on May 3rd. Jeff's going to be there. I know a lot of the other executives are going to be there as well. So that's just going to be a really cool sort of Vegas venue to hang out, have a drink, meet some people. And we're also going to have a full D&I track as well. So I forgot to mention that earlier, but we're going to have diversity, inclusion, and career sessions. We're going to have a women in tech community meetup. So there's going to be lots of opportunities to meet people and to network and, have career conversations and have diversity conversations and have a drink after the sessions as well and meet new people. So that's what I love in addition to all the learning. So I would be remiss not to mention the networking opportunities that we built into the program as well.
And a lot of that can be planned. You can plan your agenda and schedule for who you want to talk with, go to their session, chat with them after they break down, from the stage or meet them at the booth. One of the things I'll just throw in there, just a thing that I always look forward to is the broader Microsoft Ask Microsoft Anything, the AMA. And this one, with all the leads that we've been talking about, we're getting most of them to be up on the panel so that you can ask questions across Teams and AI and OneDrive and SharePoint and Power Platform, or things that are kind of scary to ask. And Jeff really does take any scary question. If people aren't able to give an answer, Jeff always gives creative and sort of, as best answer as we can provide. So AMA is always really fun, engaging, and of course, a great time to ask a question. Thank you, Matt, for all the work you're putting into the conference. I know I speak for Microsoft and the event team as well of all the work that you're doing, and appreciate your time here sharing what you know about the conference. And I will look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Thanks, Mark. I'll see you in Vegas.
And there you have it, a really nice look at what we're planning alongside with the community and MVPs and, of course, the event team themselves of what the Microsoft 365 conference offers. I hope to see you there. I will be there doing lots of things, running around crazy, but mostly with open arms and open ears. Really extremely excited to hear about what people think about the most recent announcements and some of the new things that you will hear at the conference itself. So a lot of people are going to be there, and I hope that you will be too. Next, let's talk about employee engagement. Employee engagement is all about when you have something really broad that you want to communicate to everybody at the organization. And sometimes it's the little things that help your communication elements that we're focused on. So here is the first employee engagement item. And it's a pretty small one, but it's really one of those things that I think helps with how people actually use our products and services. The first one is the renaming of the file viewer web part to file and media. Pretty simple. It's a pretty minor update, and it happens to be one that I've seen a lot of positive feedback on the clarity that the simple name of this change update brings, especially when considering the broader set of SharePoint web parts. The more clear that we can be, hopefully usage goes up, and what you do with each becomes a lot more clear. So we are renaming the file viewer web part to be file and media, which means that this web part includes both documents and videos. You'll see the new name for the web part. Functionality really doesn't change within it except for the types of files that you can now incorporate across Word, Excel, PowerPoint, PDF, and of course now extended to videos. One thing to note that there is still an images file web part, so it's just the images web part. And those are not supported within the file and media web part. So just if you have an image and you want to put it on your page, no change to that. Use the image web part. We'll keep you informed, of course, with any other updates, but just know that your feedback really helps. And this is one of the things where the feedback around how to use the files web part turned into a rename of calling it files and media, which so far has helped clear people's considerations of what do I do with that thing. Next up is the appearance and usability of Microsoft Viva Connections on an iPad, which just means now that Connections is available and supported for the iPad. Basically, this means that you can meet your people through the various devices that you enable work access to. And if they work on an iPad, great, you can now connect via Connections on their iPad. If you've deployed Viva Connections in your organization, the change will impact basically all your iPad users. They'll just have a much better experience now. And before the rollout begins, iPad users would have seen something like a not available for tablet. Now with this rollout, certainly they'll just get the new experience to see the news, dashboard items, the full layout as you design, and of course all the functionality that Viva Connections enables through the Teams experience now on iPad. Next up is within Microsoft Edge, but an important one for a pretty important file type within the Microsoft 365 ecosystem that we've supported and love supporting because we know a lot of people love this file type. It's the PDF. Microsoft Edge will replace the built-in PDF engine with the Adobe Acrobat PDF engine. This really falls in line with the great collaboration between Adobe and Microsoft, really envisioning a lot of things in the future so that the workplace and all the digital experience is as native and as clear and as high fidelity as they can be. So now we're getting a better PDF reading experience based on the Adobe Acrobat engine. You'll have this unique experience that includes, like I mentioned, a high fidelity, accurate colors, graphics, improved performance, stronger security for PDF handling when in the browser experience, and of course, great accessibility, including text selection and read aloud narration. There will be no loss of functionality with the use of the Adobe Acrobat PDF engine, and these functionalities will be continued at a free of no cost as far as when people are viewing and working with PDFs in the browser. There's a really nice article that goes into more depth around the Microsoft integration with Adobe, so you can learn more about the partnership, things that have already come, and maybe some of the announcements. And in talking about announcements specific to Adobe, they recently had the Adobe Summit where they shared a lot of broad Adobe news. And if you're interested, I will have a link in the show notes so you can go and watch the keynotes and follow the trail through all the announcements to catch up on what Adobe is doing above and beyond what it is that we're working on with them. But it's a great partnership, and it's really great to see extend through now a content service experience, the viewing and working with PDFs in Microsoft 365. Our next and last item is the new list templates that come with the approvals workflow. We are introducing 2 new list templates that embed the approvals app right into the list experience. With this change, the Microsoft list template, specifically travel requests with approvals and content scheduler with approvals, will begin to appear and bring along the value of the approvals app that then is in Microsoft Teams. So in a new list that's created using either of these 2 templates, you can create a list just like you would any other from the Create experience, and then have the ability to submit for approval at the list item level, where you specify the approver, and those requests then flow to the approvals service, which for the most part is in the new approvals app in Teams. You'll see this both with these 2 templates. You'll get a prompt. If it's something that you don't want to use in your list, similar to how we ship some of the new Power Automate flows within the templates, you can opt out and then you won't have the approval. You'll just have all the full functionality of the list templates itself for both those 2 scenarios, but you'll just not have it. But I'd encourage you to at least try it, see what it offers, and see how nicely integrated the experience is. To not go too far down into the basics of the approvals in lists feature, I am pleased to pause this again and introduce Sudha Narayanan, who is a senior product manager on the OneDrive and SharePoint experiences team. Welcome to the IntraZone, Sudha.
Hi, Mark. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome. We're going to get into the specifics of what shipped in March, because that's really the point, so that people can kind of think about in their heads adopting and using new things. And really the point is to get a better understanding of what it is, what they might need to do to turn it on or to enable it so they can take advantage of the new technology. But we've got a little bit to lay as foundation before we get there. The Microsoft List team has been integrated with Power Platform across a number of the different applications: Power Automate, Power Apps, Power BI, probably some things I don't even know about, and I'm excited with the new thing that you're going to tell us about. But when you think of kind of at that Uber point, Microsoft lists as the data source to the different Power Platform applications, how do you and your team approach the design of that, the thinking of it, working with the other teams? Anything you want to provide as foundational to how both the technology works together and how you work together internally at Microsoft?
Microsoft Lists app, and of course the lists on SharePoint before that, has been a place where users, of course, track and organize information, collaborate with your team. And that's how within Microsoft, we use lists to manage and track most of the work that we do. Through the past years, I think it's gotten really powerful with the integration with Power Platform, Power Automate apps, Power BI. I've been amazed by some of the applications that I've seen with Power Apps and the list form customizations that you can do, what our users actually do with it today. With all of this, I think lists is truly becoming a source of process automation and becoming a place for process-driven work of all forms, basically. So seeing lists being used for such a broad range of applications today, everything from even visualizing the content that you see using some of the Power BI applications that we have and the Power BI integration that we have going, as well as things like automating your hiring and recruiting process and being able to track people that you are talking with and the feedback on those people. Automate, approvals, automate emails that you get sent out, etc., is super exciting for me, and it's truly a place of productivity lists, according to me, and that's how we use it within our teams. We'll be talking about another step in that direction today, which I'm also super excited about.
You mentioned the concept around process-driven work, which I think is one of the differentiators when people try to understand, what do I use lists for? And you can do things very simple, you can do things very complex, but tying it to something that you do often and repeated in a repeated fashion. And I think a lot of our listeners probably jump to, well, I could use list rules, or maybe it's something a little bit more complicated. I need to use a Power Automate workflow. And of course, to that we say yes and yes. But I think the last part that you were suggesting, which of course leads into what I think we're going to talk about, which is what about when I have a simple or complex review and approval type use case or a scenario. And I think that's where this new innovation comes in. And it has two parts to it, just for the sake of the conversation. I think my first thing that I wanted to ask you is, it's Microsoft Lists integrating with the Approvals app in Teams. And since both are relatively new, SharePoint lists have been around for a long time, but Microsoft Lists the last couple of years, Approvals app in Teams, very, very new. Can you start with just sharing the Approvals app in Teams side of it? What is that?
Approvals has been a journey, right, for Microsoft in general, and also within, SharePoint, Pages, lists, libraries, and so on. So the way we do approvals has been very siloed, and it probably all goes through Power Automate. You can, of course, create a Power Automate approval workflow to do the approval on your site. But what we saw was there wasn't a single place that either approvers or admins or requesters could go to track all of their approvals. And that's where the Approvals app in Microsoft Teams comes in. The core intent of it is to be able to streamline all of your approval requests and the processes with your team and your partners from right within Teams. So this is basically a hub where you get to see all of your approval requests, and we're not intending to take away this ability to create approvals from all those places, because that's part of your process. You do want to trigger an approval for, let's say, a vacation request or like a travel budget request, etc. So we want that to stay in your existing apps that you use, but requesters and approvers will be able to track their approval requests without going to those apps from the Approvals app on Teams itself, which will be your hub to do so going forward. The other super interesting thing about Approvals on Teams, the app, is it's integrated with your chat. That means that if I need an approval from Mark on a specific item, I'm going to say that, hey, I need an approval for disclosing this thing, that this new product that we are launching, etc. I can send you a quick note with a formal approval request on just our one-on-one chat within Teams. And once you approve, it's logged. It is available for all the audit purposes that you may need to track it for in the future. It's going to be available on the Approvals Hub, but it was as simple as, chatting with Mark and starting an approval request with Mark. So that's what is Approvals app on Teams, a hub basically where all of your approval requests from across M365, Power Automate, SharePoint, Dynamics 365, etc., come together for you to be able to manage them better.
Just so you know, the approval that you just requested from me just came through the IntraZone. I can see it now. And because we're at March 2023, I can mark it approved and give you, for what you're asking me, to approve the disclosure of what it is that we're doing. So that was half of it, right? The other half is now, what are we doing with Microsoft Lists to integrate with the Approvals app in Teams, or to at least integrate with the Approvals service?
Like I've mentioned, approvals has been a journey within SharePoint. So we've had page approvals, page content approvals using some of our 2010, 2013 workflows. We've had approvals that using request sign in, which was a capability on lists, which still is a capability on some of the lists. And most of these were either backed by the workflows, the SharePoint 2013, 2010 workflows, or it was backed by Power Automate. What we are doing now is actually integrating Microsoft Lists approvals to the Approvals app on Microsoft Teams. So with this new release, we are launching two new list templates, which will have approvals integrated with it. Users don't have to do anything. They have the Approvals app auto-installed on your Teams, so you don't even have to do that. All you need to do is start using these two new list templates, specifically travel requests with approvals template and content scheduler with approvals templates. And as you start creating items for tracking in these templates, you should be able to start submitting approval requests, which goes into this approvals app, and it's being tracked in this a single hub, and the response can happen from Teams as well as from SharePoint. So that's what's coming up. We'll go into the details of that, but this is one step into the future of bringing all of the approvals together in a single place, all of the approvals across Microsoft Lists, but also across SharePoint libraries and pages and so on.
What I've liked about this, similar to if people have used list rules, it's a little bit like writing a sentence. In the list itself, you have a number of different columns. And of course, if it's a travel request, something that needs to be approved, or we're going to publish something in the next 3 weeks, is the blog approved or is this contract approved? A lot of it is you're tracking the information about the item. So if it's a blog like I work on, blog title, who's the author, but there may be a content owner or content approval that's required from somebody who's just looking across a whole launch of a whole lot of content. And with what you and the team have built, there is the way where I could go and build either a simple or complex workflow in Power Automate. But I always think of that as a different skill. Certainly have to, put a little bit more effort into it. But with this, with the approvals that are kind of already there within the template that you used, I just pick a name of somebody who's going to be the content owner, and the awareness of that item is attached to that when it gets to the request for their approval, which, of course, like you mentioned, they would see among any other approval requests that they have. And they can go back to the list item. They can review the content. They can, dig in and ask questions. But the second that it marks it as approved, of course, it moves it down to then getting things ready to either go on the travel, to publish the blog, or to send the contract to a client.
Yep.
Is there anything about the user interface or almost the simplicity that we went to that you might want to say or share about the design of our approach when we looked at integrating the two?
Our approach was definitely about how can we make this as simple as adding a column to your Microsoft list, right? So it was very much about this needs to be an integrated feature, and we look at it as an out-of-the-box thing that you should be able to start doing it from, or any user at any level of expertise should be able to start doing it from day one, and in one click. And that's what approvals is. So as soon as you create lists using these templates, you'll see the approvals column showing up with this nice bill, which shows the status of the approval request. So you'll either say it has not been started or not submitted yet, or it can go through the life cycle of approvals. It can either be reassigned, or it can be approved or rejected, etc. So our intent was very much that we wanted to take away the complexity of setting up a Power Automate flow and attaching it with your list, ensuring it runs properly, which was all what we had to do previously, and bring approvals as a core capability into lists, just like how you'd have a number column, if you will, or a flag column, right? So, I resonate with everything you said, and that was exactly the intent, and I'm glad that's coming through.
I'm just glad that you all were approved to start rolling out. So March is very exciting to have gotten the approval to start the rollout so that people can start getting approval requests and having that more in line with where they're tracking their information, which makes a ton of sense to me. Because the intent of this particular style of episode for the Interzone is all about roadmap, so we've cleared the way for what is shipping in March. And we also know that we work a lot with the Power Platform team. We know the approvals team is working on maybe the next entry point or the next capability. But if there's anything that just gives a sense of some things that, we've either heard of feedback and we're working on, or things that just make sense for people to understand the direction that we're going. Are any last thoughts on future of lists, Power Platform approvals, anything in that realm?
So, the most exciting thing beyond the two shiny new list templates and bringing approvals into those is that we've done all of the foundational work that's required to bring the same approvals capability in every SharePoint application that you can think of. So it can be all the lists that are created, whether from a template or not, the libraries that you create, or it could also be SharePoint pages. So you are definitely seeing us starting on a journey to ensure that whatever is the approval request that happens on SharePoint looks, feels, and works the same way, and is available in your fingertips on Teams, like on your mobile, or wherever you want to do it. So that's the journey that we are starting on. There are a few exciting things that I can't talk about on the premium space as well, coming for approvals, but I'll hold off on that. But that's the journey that we are on right now. And
well, I'm glad that you were approved to at least share what you did today, because that was a lot. There's great first step, more than just a first step. These are a lot of things that have been in place, building on top of new, but really integrating so that that end user experience is clear, objective driven, and of course, you get to the end where hopefully you get more approvals than rejections. And I'm glad that you said yes to being on the Interzone and didn't reject my offer. Thank you both for the work. I think it's a wonderful expansion of Microsoft Lists. And of course, always really nice to see the teams working well together. But also to you, thank you for your time, Sudha, for coming on the Interzone.
Thanks, Mark. Now I get to be a content creator and make millions, right?
Absolutely. And, I'll just ask for a little royalty, 2% cutback. We can work on the details.
Sounds good. It was great. Thank you so much, Mark.
It's really nice when you see two teams working really well together, especially when there's a really key scenario that unblocks a lot of what people build, sometimes manually, sometimes in very simple fashion, or if you want to go for a more complex flow, you can always do that. But when it's something that we can do where it adds just a simple checkbox or a click or just an embedded experience, it really saves a lot of people a lot of time. And it usually is based on those things we see or hear from people doing over and over and over again, and ending those common feedback statements with, "and I wish it was a lot easier." So if you give this a try, give approvals in lists a try, you will see it's really easy and it's really powerful to keep your business processes moving forward. So with that, let us move into talking about teamwork more broadly. Got a couple of items this month, and the first one is the new OneDrive web experience around favoriting and unfavoriting your files. Adding files to favorites is a great way to mark content for personal importance, something that you want to get back to quickly. It'll help you find those things that you find most important. We've made sure that the favorites experience is consistent across Microsoft 365 apps by building on top of the existing pinning and favorites experience. This release will include support for favoriting files from OneDrive Web and document libraries. Once you favorite a file, you can easily access them from the Favorites pivot in the left-hand navigation. And if you favorite or unfavorite a file, you can do this using the Favorite/Unfavorite command in the context menu, in the command bar, or by simply using the star icon, which will show up when you unhover over each individual file. It's a really nice way to save something for later, or if you always want to access something you access all the time, favorite it and it'll be right there and very easy to find anytime that you need it. Next up is suggested files in one-on-one chats in Microsoft Teams. As an extension of the suggested replies in one-on-one chats, you can now save time when you need to send a file in a chat by tapping on a share file suggestion. This is another example of where you can save a lot of time with AI-based file suggestions in chat, especially when the service detects an intent to share. Now people will be able to respond to their chat message and attach a file in one click. Quick note here is if you wish to disable this feature in your tenant, please disable the suggested replies setting that is found in the messaging policies. Users also have a setting within the app so they can disable the feature if you don't want to disable it worldwide across your entire tenant. And last, as a send-off between the teamwork section to the related section, let's talk about one last teamwork item, which is send to Kindle. We will be adding the ability for users to send documents for Microsoft Word, that's Win32 on the desktop, web, and Mac, to a Kindle e-reader device or a Kindle app. I just tested this out to use my Kindle to review an upcoming Message Center post from a colleague. So I just went into Word, I went to the File, Export, and then there was an option to send documents to Kindle. I signed in with my Amazon.com account and off it went. And voila, it did appear on my Kindle within my library on my Kindle device, ready to read and review. I can imagine a lot of scenarios where I might want to do this with a number of documents to take it with me when it's really just to read or read and review and get back. But it's a nice, great reading experience on the Kindle. I've always been an advocate for the Kindle screen and the way that the battery works and the life of it. So if there are things that you want to take with you, short form, long form, just use this nice feature within Word, File, Export, Send Documents to Kindle. All right, let us move on to related news. And for the related news items this month, I really wanted to highlight 3 key announcement moments that happened in March 2023. First, there was the Microsoft 365 Copilot announcement. Then there was a great set of announcements for Microsoft Loop. And the last one that just rounded out the month perfectly was a number of announcements for Microsoft Teams. So first up, on March 16th was the Microsoft 365 Copilot announcement, your Copilot for Work. And this is a new experience that combines the power of large language models with your data in the Microsoft Graph and the Microsoft 365 app experiences. Copilot is integrated into Microsoft 365 in 2 ways. First, it works alongside the user, embedded in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. Second, we've also introduced Business Chat that works across all Microsoft 365 apps and data in real time. Users' calendar, emails, chats, documents, meetings, and context. There are a lot of great resources, videos, and things to check out. I'll have a link to the main blog, and I also have a link that's a great blog for admins in regards to artificial intelligence in general, to see the approach that we're taking and, of course, the control and management that you have at your fingertips. Now, on March 22nd, there was a nice series of Microsoft Loop announcements, specifically highlighting that the new Microsoft Loop app is coming to public preview. About Loop at its core, it's all about people who want to create together with ease, no matter where they are or what tools they're using. It's a transformative co-creation experience that brings together teams, content, and tasks across your tools and devices. We've previously shared the 3 key parts of Microsoft Loop. Those are the components, workspaces, and pages. And really the announcement and bringing to fruition the new Loop app is where you access all of these, whether you've created them in the new app or if you've created them in the value that already existed in Teams, Outlook, across a lot of entry points. This might be the collection of where you find it all or where you start from now as well. One note that I have for work and school customers, because this is also available for personal accounts, the Microsoft Loop app is by default off during public preview, and this announcement won't affect your organization unless you voluntarily enable it for your organization. And there are great instructions on how to enable it, which I, as an individual, highly encourage you to try it. Can't hurt to try it. It's very easy to turn on. And then for your end users, those that you are going to enable, you just start at loop.microsoft.com. Lots of great information at the parent level. I will post about the main Loop blog by Wangui McKelvey. And of course, there's a lot of cascading other elements that you can read through to see it, to learn more, and of course, to try it on your own. Then on March 27th was the big Microsoft Teams Day. There's a new Teams app experience now in public preview, and this is a Teams app that is built on the foundation of speed, performance, and flexibility, saving you time and helping your organization work together more efficiently. Our goal with the new Teams app is to make it twice as fast while using half of the system's resources, which means a 50% reduction in memory. We also have observed significant gains in installation time, disk space used, chat and channel switch time, search, and more. The new Teams app also adds support for organizations that have multiple tenants and users must manage multiple accounts. So a lot of that switching. And now users can be signed into multiple tenants and accounts simultaneously and to the benefit of receiving notifications no matter which one is currently in use. So you can see everything that you're signed into. It's a huge bit of relief to not have to switch, feel like you're missing something, and it happens to be one of those parts of the announcement that I personally have seen a lot of people comment in a positive way to not have to context switch or actually switch that much. The Teams announcement also announced a big one from an avatars perspective. That's the avatars for Teams, now in public preview. This gives you that much needed camera break, which we all love in audio-only podcasts, while still allowing you to collaborate effectively. You can add a new layer of choice to your meetings and represent yourself in the way that you want with customizable avatars and reactions. This is one that I've been using just a little bit during lunchtime meetings where you want to finish your lunch without showing everybody that you're finishing your lunch. You know what I mean? Yet you still can stay engaged and appear engaged as people see your avatar on camera for you. Now, I do switch back to my regular person on camera, me, after I've finished my lunch so that I can engage and be available for people who are giving presentations or just when I'm talking with others. But it is a really nice thing to be able to turn to. And you can turn to 3 avatars. So if you have different types of meetings, like a casual meeting, a professional, or a day-to-day type meeting, you can maybe dress up or dress down your avatar to reflect the type of meeting. So a lot of options. I do encourage you to give this a try. It is one of those things that is designed for users 18 years and older. And I think it's a really nice add to the workplace to be able to give people options, especially when there just might be that time where you want to be engaged, but you don't necessarily want to be on camera. So as I mentioned, per each announcement, there's a lot more detail. There's a ton of screenshots, videos, and links, all to a lot of great depth blogs, a lot of great videos that are coming from the community and MVPs about what their first impressions are or their first experiences with Copilot and Loop and the new Teams experience. So there's a lot to dig through. It's all very exciting, and it really is a big finish to March 2023 from a news cycle perspective. And I hope I've just captured it here a little bit so that you can either get all that you need, okay, thanks Mark for telling me, or you can have that trigger to go learn more, because there is a lot that has come out, and you might think there might be some more coming before, at, and after that May 2023 Microsoft 365 conference. So hold on, stay engaged, stay informed, and I will hope to help you along the way. Now let us talk about teasers. It's time to move on from the art of this past month to the art deco of next month, one that predicts and paints the future with high certainty. Let us focus on the future that's just around the corner of our calendars. Here are 2 teasers for what's coming in April 2023. Teaser number 1. Project for the web integration in Viva Goals. If you have started using Viva Goals or you're still reviewing Viva Goals, think about something at a task level that layers up to then either complementing or supporting a goal. It's really great to use the value of how you might project manage across so many tasks and people and have that ladder up to the broader goals. So really excited for that one. Teaser number 2, People in Viva. It's about as simple as it sounds. There's a great new people experience in Viva that builds on the people experiences that you've seen in Microsoft 365 for some time, but it really improves when you see somebody and hover over their name. You'll get a great new people experience, but there's also a People's app that's coming. I'll put a link in the show notes so you can learn more. There's a really great announcement of what the people in Microsoft Viva will bring. And of course, it'll add to the additional teaser of what's to come next month, April 2023. Those 2 items and more next month. I want to give a big thank you to Matt and Sudha for sharing more about the Microsoft 365 conference and the approvals in lists experience, respectively. We've added learn more links per feature, plus a list of important resources in the show notes and in the corresponding blog post on the Microsoft Tech community, published to the SharePoint community blog. I hope you've enjoyed this roadmap pit stop. Pump the brakes. It is time to relax knowing that you are all caught up. If anything still leaves you scratching your head, open questions or concerns, please send us your thoughts and comments to theintrazone@microsoft.com. Thanks for taking that step with us into the cloud month after month. This is Mark Cashman saying, what gets announced in Vegas shall not stay in Vegas, even if it originates there on the roadmap ahead.